Salutare, dragilor! Oare ce i s-a mai întâmplat lui Alice de data asta? Să citim, să aflăm în engleză. Chapter 6. Pig and Pepper. She was wandering through the woods, and she arrived at a house, and all of a sudden a servant in a uniform came running out of the wood. Judging by his face only, she would have called him a fish. It was opened by another servant in a uniform, with a round face and large eyes like a frog. She felt very curious to know what it is all about. The fish servant began by producing from under his arm a great letter, nearly as large as himself, and this he handed over to the other, saying in a solemn tone, "For the Duchess, an invitation from the Queen to play croquet." The frog servant repeated in the same solemn tone, "From the Queen, an invitation for the Duchess to play croquet." Then they both bowed low. Alice went timidly up to the door and knocked. There is no sort of use in knocking," said the servant. "First, because I'm on this side of the door, as you are, and secondly, because they're making such a noise inside that no one could possibly hear you." "Please then," said Alice, "how can I get in?" "I shall sit here," the servant remarked, "till tomorrow, or maybe the next day," as if nothing happened. "How am I to get in?" asked Alice again in a louder tone. "Oh, there is no use in talking to him," said Alice desperately. "He's perfectly idiotic." And she opened the door and went in. There she saw the Duchess, sitting on a stool in the middle, nursing a baby. Next to her was a cook that was stirring a large soup. "There is certainly too much pepper in that soup," Alice said to herself, sneezing. Even the Duchess sneezed constantly, and as for the baby, it was sneezing and howling without a moment of pause. The only two creatures in the kitchen that did not sneeze were the cook and a large cat. "Please, would you tell me," said Alice quite timidly, "why your cat grins like that?" "It's a Cheshire cat," said the Duchess, "and that's why. Pig!" She said the last word with such violence that Alice quite jumped. But she saw in another moment that it was addressed to the baby and not to her. So she took courage and went on again. "I didn't know that Cheshire cats always grinned. In fact, I didn't know that cats could grin at all." "You don't know much," said the Duchess, "and that's a fact," she said quite rudely. "Here is the baby. You may nurse it a bit if you like," said the Duchess to Alice. "I must go and get ready to play croquet with the Queen," and she hurried out of the room. As soon as she had made out the proper way to nurse the baby, she carried it out into the open air. But the baby grunted. "Don't grunt," said Alice. "That's not at all a proper way of expressing yourself." The baby grunted again. "If you're going to turn into a pig, my dear," said Alice seriously, "I'll have nothing more to do with you." Alice was just beginning to think to herself, "Now what am I going to do with this creature when I get home?" when it grunted again, this time so violently that when she looked down, it was neither more nor less than a pig. So she set the little creature down and felt quite relieved to see it trot away quietly into the woods. If it had grown up, she said to herself, it would have made a dreadfully ugly child, she thought. but it makes a rather handsome pig, I think. All of a sudden, a Cheshire cat sitting on a tree a few yards off. Cheshire Puss, she began rather timidly. Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to walk from here? Well, that depends a good deal on where you want to get, said the cat. I don't much care where, as long as I get somewhere. Well, then it doesn't matter which way you walk, said the cat. And what sort of people live about here? Mad people, said the cat. But I don't want to go among mad people, Alice remarked. Oh, you can't help that, said the cat. We're all mad here. I'm mad, you're mad. How do you know that I'm mad, said Alice. You must be, said the cat. Otherwise, you wouldn't have come here. Do you play croquet with the Queen today? I should like it very much, said Alice, but I haven't been invited yet. You'll see me there, said the cat, and vanished. Alice was not much surprised at this, as she was getting so used to queer things happening. While she was looking at the place where the cat has been, the cat has appeared again. By the way, what became of the baby? Said the cat. I'd nearly forgotten to ask. It turned into a pig, Alice answered very quietly, as if the cat had come back in a natural way. I thought it would, said the cat, and vanished again. And there was the cat again. Did you say pig or fig? Asked the cat. I said pig, replied Alice, and I wish you wouldn't keep appearing and vanishing so suddenly. All right, said the cat, and this time it vanished slowly. She had not gone much farther before she came in sight of the house of a hare. She thought it must be the right house, because the chimney was shaped like ears, and the roof was thatched with fur. She walked up towards it rather timidly, saying to herself, Suppose it should be mad after all.